Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of our programming on Greece this week. We are being joined again by my friend, Jesse Blackwood. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning. Kalimera.
Kalimera. And Jesse today is going to host a discussion on sustainable tourism and the way a village in Greece has decided to tackle the problem of sustainable tourism. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Jesse, for the introduction.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am absolutely delighted to be here again with you, Sarah. Thank you so much. And with Antonis, or Antoine, who is joining us from Messalungi. We talked a little bit about Messalungi yesterday. And actually, if you look at my background, this is a background of the Messalungi Lagoon taken by this wonderful organization, Messalungi by Locals. And I thought, kind of by way of introduction, Antoine, to discussing what you do, we could talk just a little bit about, before we give a full introduction of your beautiful organization, we could talk a little bit about what sustainable tourism is and why it's important to think about as we begin to travel, because we're all thinking about different ways of being sustainable, but we don't necessarily realize that tourism is, equally important, that we travel sustainably. So what do we think? What is sustainable tourism?
Well, hello from Messalungi. Sarah, thank you for having us. Jesse, it's always a pleasure talking with you. Well, as you said yesterday on your great introduction about Messalungi, Messalungi is a small town which is located in the middle of the largest lagoon in Greece. That means that people and tourists who live in Messalungi or visit Messalungi should firstly realize the place that surround the city. So sustainable tourism means that we need to act without forgetting the surroundings. The center of the lagoon landscape, in the center of the lagoon landscape, are fishermen whose lifeways create and maintain a unique landscape which embodies both local traditions and the story of adaptation through time, which means that if we don't understand the importance of the lagoon and its biodiversity, then we can't move into the future. So when we say tourism as Messalungi by locals, we mean friendly activities around the lagoon or in the lagoon that respect the biodiversity of the environment.
Well, I'm so excited to have you talk a little bit more about that. And one reason for these, Antonis, is that, in traveling around, both Sarah and I visiting, major cities across Europe, what we've experienced and witnessed over and over again are big group tour companies that have kind of control over the booking industry, and they have priority everywhere they go. And actually, it's tourism that's consumerism, right? That it's kind of consuming what's there, and that does two things to culture. It can ghettoize culture so that it then becomes dependent on the people that come to visit, but it can also destroy what exists locally and naturally in the places that we go to visit. Whereas what you guys are doing, I think, just so remarkably, really, it's something that touched my heart, is quite the opposite. So you're creating a space where inside this lagoon, where it's possible to visit in ecotourism, pay attention to the biodiversity of the place, but also within the traditions of the people who work there already. So when I visited with you guys this last year, we went out on a Pallades, which is one of these fishing huts with a fisherman. And anyway, I'll let you explain what you do. But I just wanted to jump in and highlight why, in my opinion, that style of travel is so important. So, and I know that I suspect right now you're in the Mesolungi by Locals hub, which is the home. And actually, I think your account here says Alexandros, which is your colleague and the founder of Mesolungi. And I believe that the hub is actually his family home. Now, just take a minute to tell us a little bit more about the kind of activities you guys do and the community partners that you have.
Well, beside the tourist activities that we do, which I will explain you in a couple of minutes, Mesologi by Locals as an organization is a non-profit organization. And the aim of the organization is to strengthen the collectivity within the local community of Mesologi through a participatory mapping sim of the city's cultural identity, but also through the creation and promotion of cultural activities. The work of the organization concerns the study, the promotion, and the preservation of the local cultural heritage, and of course the environment, as well as the organization of cultural tourism and ecotourism experiences for locals and visitors of the city. The experience that we call people to live are based on this cultural heritage of Mesologi. You talked about the wooden huts in the lagoon. This is a very important part of the tradition of Mesologi, because Mesologi was founded as a city by fishermen and pirates who used the city, they used the lagoon to feed the families and themselves. And this is how Mesologi was created back in the 15th century. So what we're trying to do here is to introduce original experiences to travelers, so they can live like a local. If you understand what I'm trying to explain here, excuse my English. I'm trying my best.
No, your English is really wonderful. And for anyone who has ever taken the time to learn Greek, can appreciate the importance of you speaking to us in English instead of us trying to speak to you in Greek. So first of all, thank you. And no, and what you're saying makes perfect sense. To visit, to travel like a local is, I think, at the very heart of the kind of activities that Sarah and I love to share. So tell us a little bit more about what those activities, if somebody comes to Mesolungi and we have 2 or 3 days, maybe 1 day, 2 days, 3 days to spend there, what would you recommend we do when we come to visit?
Well, we would definitely recommend to take a tour with the traditional boat in the lagoon, while a guide explains about the ecosystem and the creation of the lagoon and the importance. So this is one of the first experience that I would suggest people enjoy when they visit Mesologi. Of course, they can visit the traditional pelades, which is the fisherman houses, as you said. They can fish and they can cook the catch of the day. That's also a great experience. They can have historical tours. We have the Garden of Heroes in Mesologi, as you might know. Lord Byron dedicated his life in Mesologi. He died here. So there is a monument for Lord Byron. You can have outdoor activities like mountain hiking, bicycle. You can do the round of the lagoon by foot. You can have a photographic safari, of course. And
now, speaking of photographic safari, you are, I think Mesolungi is the first place I've ever traveled where you actually have flamingos. Flamingos are indigenous to the lagoon of Messalungi, which, I thought we had to travel much further afoot in order to encounter them. And as you say, Lord Byron, he died there. He gave his life. That was actually fighting for in the Greek War of Independence, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not mistaken. Correct.
Another Sarah, you'll know that the poetic resonance of that is not lost as another reason to come and visit.
As for the flamingos, we have almost 300 different species of birds in the lagoon. Yes, wow.
Wow.
We have pelicans, we have all kinds of birds actually during the year. So if you are interested for bird watching, this is definitely the place to visit.
Now you mentioned catching, fishing, and then cooking the fish of the day with a fisherman on a traditional wooden hut built on the lagoon. I just wanted to slow down so that we can capture all of those elements, because that was an experience you shared with me this last fall. And actually, that was the best fish I ever had in my entire life, which was cooked by the fishermen in the traditional recipe of the place. Now, how did this organization get started?
Well, Mesologi by Locals, as I told you, is a non-profit organization, and the idea started from young people like Alexandros and Kira, who decided to remain in Mesologi and take action, do something. At a time when the social and economic crisis in Greece back in 2012, if you remember, 15, 14, etc., has increased the number of young people that they were leaving Mesologi for Athens or bigger cities. And these young people wanted to create a vision for the younger generation that we have to stay here, we have to maintain our cultural identity, do something about it, and we can create instead of going somewhere else. We can actually create here, and this is how Mesologi by Locals started in 2018. Sorry.
No, not at all. And I think it's such a beautiful endeavor. Yesterday we were talking about the way that when we travel, but specifically when we were visiting Greece, the way that our experience was elevating, that it was characterized by a kind of an aspiration towards a sense of, or a spirit of human dignity. And I think that often when we come and visit Greece, if we just visit Athens, and you drive around the suburbs, and because I think about half the Greek population is in Athens, if I'm not mistaken, almost half.
Yes, it is actually.
Yeah, and so in Greece, Athens is not an enormously wealthy city. I think it's fair to say, and so you go there and you don't actually have that experience of that ancient, very, very rich and enduring culture, because so many people have moved from small towns. And of course, I have friends who live in Athens that go back home, and they're always bringing olives and other fresh products into the city, and that's kind of the way that they're supporting their life. There's a mutuality, but it's beautiful that that's what you're trying to avoid, is that that if it's wonderful if folks want to go and move to the city, but it's another thing if you feel that you have to leave in order to support your family. And so from that perspective, that kind of grassroots endeavor is just such a beautiful and encouraging one, and I think an example to us all. Now,
Well,
go ahead.
yeah, you said about life in Athens and in larger cities. Well, the quality of life that you have in Mesologi and in other cities, not in Athens, you saw it firsthand. You understand that it's totally different, and everything is different here. And also, the amount of money that you need in order to maintain this quality of life is totally different. So it has to do, if I may say, with a state of mind. What do you ask for yourself or from yourself? What do I want to do in life? And you said something about olive oil and products that everybody brings from the villages back to Athens. I would like to mention that Mesologi has three, except the fish, of course, three very important products, which is olives and olive products. It's well known about these products. Salt. I think you've tasted salt. And of course, botargo.
No, tell us. Yeah, I remember. Tell us what that is. This is
botargo
world famous.
is egg fish. The eggs from the fish that the fishermen catch, and they do it. They preserve it on a natural way with wax, raw fish, egg fish. They put it on wax so it can be preserved for a long period of time. And it's also known as the golden treasure of Mesologi, of the lagoon.
That's it's not what one would immediately think of as the golden treasure, but it's essentially it's caviar, right? It's exactly considered some of the best caviar in the world, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not mistaken. Thank you for helping me out here. Thank you.
No. I was just that's the French name for it, and yes, I was more familiar with that than the Greek one, which I even hesitate to try and pronounce at the moment.
It is. Botargo from Mesologi is not that salty, like caviar. Is different. It's yellowish. It's like gold, and we love it.
Now, tell us a little bit. In a moment, I know you have a video and maybe some photos that you'd like to share with us. But just give us. We spoke about the fishermen and the three products that you have that Messolungi is famous for. But tell us how you see this last 4 years of your work, how you see that beginning to pay off. Because I love, actually, and I follow you on Instagram. I love watching seeing your Instagram posts. Although I can hardly phoneticize Greek, right? I mean, my Greek is essentially non-existent. I can barely make out the letters. But yours is a channel. Quite remarkably, it's for the locals, right? I imagine. I think most of your followers are there in Messolungi, but I love watching the activities that you're doing. So it's not just tourism for folks abroad, but really it's a way of preserving the culture and sharing that with folks that are there. So could you tell us a little bit about how? Just about those activities and the result of that work, and how you're seeing that begin to bear fruit.
Well, after 3 years and 3 very successful festivals, we believe that we have activated the locals so they can be part of what we do, because as our name says, we are Mesologi by locals. So without the locals, we are nothing. And we are also locals. So what we would like to do is to activate people in everyday living, so they can do things to get to know Mesologi better, to appreciate the lagoon and the biodiversity, as I said before, and to have a vision. So every week, we call the locals to participate in a few activities with us. It can be a photographic safari, as I said before, or maybe a cultural route in the city. We have a team that works on architectural mapping. So we talk about building and architecture. We talk about history. We create maps that people can take for free, maps of the city, maps of the lagoon. So this is very important. And if I may say, our followers, I'm not sure if they are, most of them, locals. I mean, I'm not sure if they live in Mesologi, because as you know, we have an amazing surrounding. Amazing, you can see so many beautiful landscapes here that, so people from around Europe are loving us. If I may share my screen, I would like to show to our viewers a short video about local hub and Mesologi by locals, so they can get a better idea about what they do. I will ask our viewers to excuse my English, but this is the local way. You live the experience with the locals. And if I may share my screen, we can watch the first video. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
It's all set up. You should be fine. And your English, by the way, is excellent. So
Oh, thank you.
let me just say your English is much better than my Greek. So we're fine.
I'm sorry. I am still very nervous. I'm not doing this every day, so I'm trying my best. Thank you so very much. So, do you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, perfect.
Επικρατεί ένα κλίμα απογοήτευσης και απεσιοδοξίας για το μέλλον του τόπου, δύο νέοι τολμούν να ξεκινήσουν το όραμά τους και να κάνουν την ιδέα τους πράξη, να δημιουργήσουν το Mesologi by Locals ή αλλιώς το Mesologi των ντόπιων. Όραμά μας είναι ένα καλύτερο μέλλον για τον τόπο μας, με εφόδιο την πλούσια πολιτιστική κληρονομιά, το σπάνιο οικοσύστημα και τους ανθρώπους, να δημιουργήσουμε μια νέα προοπτική για τοπική ευημερία. Στόχος είναι να πάψουν οι νέοι να φεύγουν από τον τόπο, αλλά αντιθέτως να μπορούν και πάλι να ονειρευτούν το μέλλον του στο Mesologi. Να πάψει να υπάρχει αντίληψη πως δεν υπάρχει μέλλον στο Mesologi. Με τις σκέψεις αυτές, από το Δεκέμβρη του 2018, οι δύο νέοι μοιράζονται το όραμά τους με συμπολίτες τους και οι δύο γίνονται 56. Μεμονωμένοι πολίτες, εκπαιδευτικοί, σχολεία, δημόσιοι και ιδιωτικοί φορείς γίνονται μια ομάδα και χαρτογραφούν με συμμετοχικές διαδικασίες την τοπική πολιτιστική ταυτότητα σε 8 ενότητες. Ιστορία, αρχαιότητα, παραδόσεις, τέχνες, τοπικά προϊόντα, περιβάλλον, δραστηριότητες, αρχιτεκτονική. Έως σήμερα έχουν χαρτογραφηθεί 14 πολιτιστικές διαδρομές, έχουν δημιουργηθεί 9 χρονολόγια και έχουν καταγραφεί 57 σημεία ενδιαφέροντος με πρωτότυπο κείμενο και φωτογραφίες. Οι διαδρομές αυτές παρουσιάζονται σε έντυπους αλλά και ηλεκτρονικούς διαδραστικούς χάρτες στην ιστοσελίδα του οργανισμού και δίνουν την ευκαιρία στον ντόπιο αλλά και τον επισκέπτη να ανακαλύψει και να γνωρίσει την τοπική πολιτιστική ταυτότητα. Στα πλαίσια της διάδοσης και ανάδειξης της τοπικής πολιτιστικής κληρονομιάς, το καλοκαίρι του 2019, το Mesologi by Locals οργάνωσε το πρώτο φεστιβάλ Ανακάλυψη την τοπική πολιτιστική ταυτότητα. Στόχος είναι το φεστιβάλ να καθιερωθεί σε αιτήσια βάση και να γίνει θεσμός για την πόλη. Πρόκειται για ένα τριήμερο δράσεων επηρεασμένων από την τοπική πολιτιστική ταυτότητα του Μεσολογγίου, που περιλαμβάνει περιπάτους στην πόλη, πεζοπορίες, αθλήματα, εκθέσεις, προβολές, εργαστήρια, συναυλίες και φυσικά τοπική γαστρονομία και τοπικά προϊόντα. Επιπλέον, το 2019, το Μεσολόγγι by Locals δημιουργεί και διαχειρίζεται το τοπικό κόμβο Local Hub, ένα κοινωνικό πολιτιστικό χώρο που αποτελεί το σπίτι του οργανισμού, το σπίτι που η θύρα του είναι πάντα ανοιχτή. Ο τοπικός κόμβος είναι σημείο έκφρασης, δημιουργίας, δικτύωσης, μάθησης και διάδρασης των κατοίκων του Μεσολογγίου. Είναι ο χώρος που πραγματοποιούνται πολιτιστικές εκδηλώσεις, συναυλίες, εκθέσεις, σεμινάρια, βιωματικά εργαστήρια, αναγνωστήριο και χώρος εργασίας. Το Μεσολόγγι by Locals αποτελεί μια πρωτοβουλία πολιτών που θέλουν να δημιουργήσουν ένα καλύτερο μέλλον στον τόπο τους και κάνουν κάτι γι' αυτό. Δώσε δύναμη στον οργανισμό να αναπτύξει τις δραστηριότητές του. Κάνε μία δωρεά. Τα καλύτερα έρχονται.
Well, that's just a beautiful video, and it shows some of the really wonderful, shares some of the really wonderful imagery, not only of the activities you do, but of the place itself. And there's that. I'm just, as you scroll through the website here, I'm looking at looking at people dancing at an ancient theater. People doing cooking lessons, people attending concerts, and really just people being together in very ordinary ways. And extraordinarily, I think we could say that the ordinary is really what people are hungry for now when we come to travel, when we want to experience culture. It has to be at the level of the ordinary. Otherwise, it's not real, right? It has to be authentic. It has to be shared in that spirit of friendship. So,
exactly. As I told you, activate the local community, make them part of the dream, and make them dream of themselves within the community. That's all about Mεσολόγγι by Locals. Activate the community. Are you still seeing the website?
Yeah, still seeing the website, and you're here right now on this theater. Now, I actually haven't had a chance to visit that yet, but you said earlier that Mezolunghi was founded in the 15th century, I think, when folks were by fishermen escaping pirates, perhaps a little bit like Venice. And but I know that there's an acropolis at the top of the city as well. So there has to be, and as we're looking here, there's a much more ancient city as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
This is the ancient city of Plevrona, and we see here the theater. It's located a few kilometers away from Mezolonghi, and it used to be a very important ancient city. Homer says that Plevrona sent ships to the Trojan War. So it was a very important harbor in the ancient years.
Wow.
Yes, and this is also part of the experience. You can have a tour with a guide. So that's all about the website.
Well, thank you, Antonis. And it's such a beautiful initiative that you guys have. And I can't highly recommend it enough to come and to cook, to sing or to dance, to get out on the lagoon, to spend time in a Pallades, in a traditional boat. These are
I have a question for you, Jesse, and also for our guest. So this is just a really interesting way to go and visit a place. And I think it seems like now that the pandemic is sort of winding down, this is exactly what we've all been talking about. Like, how do we transform tourism from sort of a parasitic thing to a symbiotic sort of situation? I'm just curious if people are if you guys know of other organizations elsewhere in Greece or elsewhere in Europe that have a similar mission?
Well, that's I'm just thinking. I don't actually. It's not fair to say that I don't. I have to. I was thinking immediately of Greece, and what I found in Greece is that where this doesn't exist, that locals are often willing to simply share their lives with you. So that's something that we're trying to incorporate in the trip that we have. But actually, I remember I shared there is a really wonderful organization, very similar to Messalungi by locals, in Puglia, near it's where they have the Grifoni. It's just going to take. I have to run and ask Maria. I can't remember the name of this wonderful town. It will come back to me. It's the town like the name of a fine bottle of wine. Anyway, there's a wonderful museum there, which has a beautiful collection from ancient. I guess in that area they're not Etruscan and they're not Greek. I apologize because I can't even remember the name of the ancient people.
So and for our guest, actually, for Antonio, do you happen to know of any other organizations that do something similar to what you're doing?
Well, not as an organization. I know that there are few teams that they do similar with us, but not the same. Young people are activated, Sarah. They are activating in order to make something better, to make a quality of life. It's not about money. It's not about a business thing. It's about cultural heritage and living a better life.
Yeah, and I think this is a very interesting topic because I've seen this elsewhere. I've seen this in Sicily and a few other places in Italy, and in different ways, maybe not as organized as yours. I think what you're doing is really interesting because it's sort of a package and you've got all the different experiences. But, so many of these young people that maybe 10 years ago would have moved to London or something to get a better paying job, they're staying or they're going abroad and then coming home, and they're trying to figure out ways to promote their destination in a new and unique way. I mean, I think we've seen the explosion of food tours. We've seen the explosion of websites like Localers that do these little experiences or Airbnb experiences. It's a cool thing. But I love what you guys are doing in particular because, Airbnb experiences, that's a big conglomerate, and this is really something that's driven by the local population and what they want, right?
Correct. But this is a totally different experience because you live like a local. Jesse yesterday said that when he visited Messaloniki and we were invited him in our houses or to eat something, he felt like he was meeting his family, members of his family. And this is part of our identity. You said about the Greeks and the Italians, so this is what we share. But don't forget that Greeks used to have the god of hospitality, Zeus. So it's very important for us to make you feel like home. And I had a problem with my external disc, but it looks like it's okay now. If I may share some images of the lagoon and the experiences that someone might have here. May I?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen again. That's a short clip of the traditional boat in the lagoon. We see the historical church of Hagia Triada.
It's not playing yet, Antonis.
Pardon, it's not?
Not playing yet, no.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Sorry, Jesse. One more time.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that it hasn't started playing yet. I thought.
Now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, it looks like it says my screen. How about now?
Oh, we're on. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I was saying this is the traditional boat taking the tour in the Klisova Lagoon. I will also show you the previous video so you can have a different point of view. Is it on?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So I will pause to show you a couple of things. The city of Messolongi is on the left. We can't see it right now. What we see here is Zygos mountain. On the other side of Zygos, we can find the Acropolis of the Plevhrona, the ancient city. And on the right side is Patra. So this is the traditional boat taking the tour in the lagoon, approaching the very small island of Agia Triada with the historical church. And this tour, it can be from 1 hour to 1 hour and 10 minutes, depends on the weather. Depending on the weather. My God, I forgot my English. What happened to me? I'm so nervous.
No, you're doing wonderful.
God.
And I was just, as we're looking at that video, two things. One of the lovely things is that I think because the lagoon it's quite shallow, that you can, even if it's fairly windy, you can get out on the lagoon almost every day, because Greece is a country of fairly regular winds, but it's just such a peaceful experience to have, and you really capture that with that video.
It is. This is the Ionian Sea, and here you can see the traditional houses, the fisherman houses on the left side and
not
on the
up
right.
Yet.
Pardon?
The video is not playing yet at the moment.
It's not playing. Yeah, I paused it.
Okay.
So I can show you.
Oh, it's not. I'm just looking at a folder with that contains.
Oh, why? What am I doing wrong? I'll try one more time. Sorry about this. No. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, with they may be simply images that we have to wait to see until we come to visit ourselves. But you've given us a beautiful taste of what waits for us.
Well, actually, Alexandros is here with me, and he is willing to help us because he's more of the technology guy. So let's say hello to Alexandros. You have to share screen again, Alex. He's a little bit shy. Okay. May I preview? Sarah has left the building. Okay. Am I sharing my screen, Jessup?
No, it's still you're sharing your screen, but it's not going to the video. It's just keeping us within the folder with all of the images.
Yes, econo. But they can't see it. He sees the folder, but not the image.
What if you minimize the folder? See if that works.
Minimize the folder.
Yeah, just on the top there, because it may be in Zoom behind the folder, the video.
Yes, but now I can't see the folder.
No.
Stop share, Alex said. Yes. Share screen again. Yes. Okay. Alexander's on the rescue. How about now?
Oh, now we see it here.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you, Alex. Stay with me, please, in case of emergency. Okay. So this is the traditional boat. Okay. So here we can see the traditional fisherman houses, Pivaria, on the left and on the right.
So as we're looking at this, Antoine, just tell us how because I think this gives us an idea of how the fishing works there, and it's quite unique to Messalungi. But maybe you could talk about the process of the waters coming in and out, and because they're not actually going out with fishing rods typically, are they?
It's a fishing farm. What we see here, it's a fishing farm. They let the fish come in from the Ionian Pelagos. They close the gates at the entrance of the lagoon, and the fishes are staying here.
That's right. It's you say fishing farm, but it's actually they're not farm raised fish. They're wild fish that come into the lagoon, and then you have the lagoon is kind of structured, and we can sort of see it here, a little bit like a massive lobster pot. So that
Correct.
Depending on the shifting of the tide, the fish come in and they'll make their way into this little corner of the so-called lobster pot, and then it's there that the fisherman catches them in just very small nets.
Well, not with nets actually. It's natural fish traps. They create fish traps, so they catch the fishes. They don't feed them. They feed themselves from the lagoon. That's the reason why they taste so good. Because we don't use, we don't feed them with artificial products. It's all natural. And it's all happening within these borders. Like this one, for example.
Right, and this quite large body of water, the lagoon, it's on average, it's only about 2 or 3 feet deep, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, if 2 or 3 feet is 1.5 meters maximum.
Okay, 1.5, yeah, right.
Then
6
yes.
feet maybe. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Well, Antoine, I can't thank you enough for sharing those images with us, and for sharing your vision of elevating tourism in Messalungi. I can't wait to come and visit you at what will be the very beginning of May. And I look forward to getting out on that lagoon in one of those boats and eating some of that delicious fisherman cooked fish.
I would love to do the same, actually. And I think that what you're doing is really interesting. And let's really cross our fingers and hope that this is a really interesting way for people to go forward with tourism, because I think we all agree that something needs to change and we want to change it for the better. And I think you've got that vision and that it's really helpful. I mean, I hope other places can kind of take your lead.
We hope that we have already made the change.
Yeah,
we are the change. So all I can say is thank you for having us. And I can't wait for you to come to Mesologi so I can start teaching you Greek.
Exactly. So next time that we talk, we will speak in Greek.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Very good.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Jesse, for this wonderful idea. I think this has been a topic I've been wanting to explore for quite a while, not just sustainable tourism, but what does tourism look like now that the pandemic is over? Because I think a lot of us are, especially in our industry, Jesse and I very much agree that we need to be the change and figure out a way to make tourism something that's beneficial to the communities that it affects. So we really appreciate your dream here. It's a great idea. So Jesse, do you want to tell our audience what tomorrow is going to bring us?
Oh, yeah, tomorrow, Maria and I will be cooking a couple of simple Greek recipes that we learned while living in the Peloponnese.
That's
fantastic. All right, so a little bit of Greek cooking here on Cucina Quarantena tomorrow on Wednesday. So we'll see you guys again tomorrow. So thanks for joining us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.